Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a world where your absence echoes louder than your presence ever did. Not out of spite, not out of pride, but out of the divine certainty that what you once gave them was irreplaceable. You were not ordinary. You were the light in their storm, the calm in their chaos, the anchor in their drift. And now, without you, their world is trembling. But you don't need to prove this. You don't need to speak it aloud. You only need to act as if it's already true. Because in the unseen world, it already is. You see, reality is not crafted from what you see. It's crafted from what you believe. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror held up to your inner world. If you walk around believing you are disposable, unimportant, or easily replaced, life will echo that belief back to you. But if you walk in quiet confidence, acting with calm assurance that your presence was their peace and your absence is now their unraveling, then life has no choice but to respond to that inner conviction. This is not about revenge. This is not about feeding ego. This is about reclaiming your spiritual authority and understanding that your reality doesn't respond to begging, chasing, or over-explaining. It responds to imagination clothed in certainty. And the moment you stop reacting to their silence, their absence, or their betrayal, and instead begin to act as if they are the ones aching, regretting, and falling apart without your presence, that is the moment you begin to create a reality where they must feel the weight of losing you. So stop waiting for an apology. Stop hoping they'll notice your worth. Instead, enter the scene in your mind where they are already suffering the consequences of taking you for granted. Visualize them scrolling through old messages, rereading your words, playing memories like songs they can't turn off. See them searching for you in crowded rooms, hoping to feel your energy in places you used to walk. Hear the tears they won't cry in public. Feel their regret, real, raw, and growing louder with every quiet move you make in your power. You must understand that you are not weak for letting go. You are powerful for choosing peace over pain, dignity over drama, and self-respect over seeking validation. But even more powerful than letting go is stepping into the feeling that you are missed, deeply and desperately, by those who thought they could live without you. Act as if they are breaking down when they see your name and realize they can't call. Act as if their nights are sleepless and their days are hollow. Not to punish them, but to teach yourself that your energy is priceless, your love is divine, and your departure carries more weight than your presence ever did. You are not acting for them, you are acting for you. Because once you align your inner world with this knowing, the universe rearranges circumstances to match it. People come back, truth gets revealed, and those who wronged you begin to feel the spiritual cost of your absence. So today, rise up in faith. Don't beg for closure. Don't chase explanation. Act as if they are already falling apart without you. Because if you hold that belief with stillness and strength, you will soon see it reflected in your reality. There is a hidden power in your absence that you must never underestimate. It is easy to believe that when you walk away, the world continues unchanged, especially if the other person does not immediately respond with regret, sorrow, or longing. But understand this. Just because they are silent does not mean they are at peace. Just because they seem unaffected does not mean they are not unraveling inside. Your energy, your presence, your kindness, your spirit, these were not ordinary things. These were blessings. And blessings are never truly appreciated until they're gone. You were the one who brought warmth into cold rooms. You were the voice of reason, the silent supporter, the consistent giver in a world full of takers. And now you've gone silent. You've withdrawn your energy. You've chosen to no longer participate in the chaos that they once assumed you would endure endlessly. That in itself shakes their reality more than any confrontation ever could. The spiritual principle at work here is simple yet profound. Absence is not emptiness. Absence is presence magnified. When someone is used to your energy and you remove it, they are forced to sit in the echo of what once was. It haunts them. It whispers reminders. It lingers in the background of their daily life, surfacing at inconvenient times, during laughter, in moments of joy when they should feel peace, and instead they feel an ache they cannot explain. You must act as if your absence is a force. When you walk into a room, you shift energy. But when you walk out of someone's life, that shift becomes a void. And that void does not go unnoticed. It gnaws at their spirit, especially if they took your presence for granted. So do not doubt your impact just because it isn't spoken out loud. The most devastating losses are often the ones we never admit. Walk with the awareness that your departure speaks volumes. Act like your absence is the loudest message you could ever send, not through arrogance, but through spiritual certainty. There is nothing more powerful than a soul who knows its worth, quietly withdrawing from what no longer honors it. You don't need to check if they're watching. You don't need to search for signs that they miss you. The act of pulling away from what hurts you is already creating the storm in their soul. The silence, the distance, the refusal to engage, that is your declaration. And even if they never speak a word of it, trust that your absence is ringing louder in their ears than any voice they've heard since. So act like they're falling apart without you. Not because you need to feel better, but because it is likely true. They may be pretending. They may be posting. They may be laughing in front of others. But when the noise fades and the crowd disappears, they feel it. The emptiness you left behind. Your power is not in your presence. Your power is in your ability to walk away and still be felt. So act like they are hurting in your absence. Because when your presence was healing, your departure is bound to become their wound. Everything in your external world begins within you. What you assume to be true, what you emotionally accept as fact, becomes the pattern that life reflects back to you. If you walk through life with the belief that you were insignificant to someone, that they forgot you easily, that your absence meant nothing, you will unconsciously align your actions, energy, and choices with that belief, and your reality will respond accordingly, even if it contradicts what is actually happening in the unseen. But when you choose to reverse that script, when you decide that your absence is shaking them, that your silence is deafening, that your energy is unmatched, suddenly the entire current of your reality shifts. Why? Because you are no longer assuming from a place of lack or rejection. You are now assuming from a place of power and truth. You are giving yourself permission to believe that your presence was a divine gift, and its removal has created divine chaos for those who mishandled it. This isn't about ego. This is about understanding how consciousness works. You are always creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you assume they are unaffected, your world reflects that. If you assume they are tormented with regret and longing, your world bends to bring evidence of that assumption. But it all begins within. You don't need physical proof. You only need inner conviction. So imagine their aha moments, not from revenge, but from spiritual knowing. See them walking into places where you once stood. See them reaching for their phone only to stop themselves, afraid to text, unsure what to say, haunted by the memory of how they let you go. Hear their thoughts as they scroll through your pictures, rereading old words with a heart full of what ifs. Feel the tension in their chest when they hear your name or see someone who reminds them of you. Let that vision become your new foundation. Act like they miss you, because your belief is the seed from which your future will grow. You are not being delusional, you are being deliberate. You are planting the emotional roots of a reality that will soon bear fruit. You are using the sacred tool of assumption to shift your state of being, because the truth is, people often pretend. They wear masks, they fake strength. They tell themselves they're fine. But behind the curtain of pride and ego, they feel deeply. Especially for those who once gave love unconditionally. Especially for those whose loyalty was constant. Especially for those whose energy was healing. That was you. And now, you're gone. So stop asking yourself if they're thinking of you. Assume they are. Assume they can't escape the thought of you. Assume your name burns on their tongue, though they never speak it. Assume their heart aches in silence every time they remember the purity they lost. This is not fantasy, this is faith. And faith, when held without doubt, moves mountains. Reality is your mirror. And mirrors don't lie, they only reflect what stands before them. So stand before the mirror with power. Assume your worth. Assume their longing. And watch how the world scrambles to show you what you already believe. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness or uncertainty. But when silence is rooted in inner conviction, it becomes the most deafening sound a person can hear. There is a kind of silence that echoes through the soul, one that doesn't plead, doesn't explain, and doesn't chase. It simply exists with such undeniable strength that it forces the other person to sit with their guilt, their choices, and the haunting weight of what they lost. You must learn to master this sacred kind of silence, not the silence that comes from fear, but the silence that flows from knowing. You don't have to prove your value through arguments or defend your worth with explanations. Your stillness speaks for you. Your absence becomes a message, and the energy of that message is clear. I know who I am. I know what I gave. I don't need to remind you. This is the type of silence that makes people restless. It makes them reflect, because they expect you to react. They expect you to crumble. They expect to see the chaos that they caused reflected in your behavior. But when you remain calm, centered, and quiet, not from pain but from power, it confuses them. It reveals to them the truth they weren't ready to see. You never needed them. They needed you. And now that you're no longer responding, their control slips through their fingers like dust. Inner conviction changes everything. It turns your silence into thunder. It vibrates through the spiritual realm and shakes the very foundation of the person who once thought you would always be there. The silence isn't empty, it's filled with truth. And those who carry guilt can hear it even when you don't say a word. It's important to remember that those who hurt you often rely on your response. They want to know they still have power over you. But when you give them nothing, no attention, no reaction, no energy, they are left alone with the consequences of their actions. They are left to face the pain without distraction. And in that space, their regrets are amplified. Their illusions collapse. So act like your silence is shaking them, because it is. Imagine them picking up their phone and putting it back down. Imagine them staring at your last message, wishing they had replied differently. Imagine them replaying your final words and realizing how wrong they were to treat you with disregard. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is living in a reality where your worth is no longer up for debate. You are not ignoring them to win. You are silent because you've already won within yourself. Your energy is now reserved for peace. Your attention is sacred. And your silence? It is the loudest cry their soul will ever hear. It echoes in the spaces where your laughter once lived. It haunts the corners where your light once filled the room. And now, in the emptiness they created, they are forced to confront themselves. Hold your silence with pride. Let your inner knowing be your voice. And trust that the one who once doubted your worth is now being reminded of it every single moment you say nothing. The secret doorway to transformation is imagination. But not just idle daydreaming. Imagination anchored in faith. This is the creative force through which unseen realities become physical truth. When you combine imagination with unwavering belief, you are no longer hoping for change. You are becoming the cause of it. This is where true power lies, because the world around you does not respond to effort alone. It responds to assumption. What you believe about yourself, what you believe about others, and what you believe is unfolding in your story. If you imagine yourself as forgotten, dismissed, and unimportant, then life will bend to affirm that belief. But if you close your eyes and imagine yourself as unforgettable, as deeply missed, as irreplaceable, then life begins to echo that reality right back to you. You must understand that people are not reacting to your physical presence alone. They are responding to your state of being. Your inner world broadcasts a frequency that shapes your experiences. So instead of begging for validation or chasing apologies, go within and see the truth. See them breaking inside. See them realizing what they lost. See them unable to sleep, plagued by thoughts of you. Not from bitterness, but from clarity. Not from hatred, but from higher knowing. Use your imagination as a tool of creation. Every time doubt enters your mind, replace it with a scene that aligns with your desire. See them scrolling through your old photos with tears in their eyes. Visualize them walking past places you visited together and feeling an ache they can't explain. See them breaking in silence while pretending to smile in public. Make it vivid, make it real, and then live from it. Don't just imagine it once, make it your dwelling place. Return to it whenever fear tries to creep in. Speak from that reality. Walk from that reality. Act as if it is already done. Because when you believe in the unseen as if it's already visible, the universe has no choice but to shape itself around your belief. This principle is not new. It's been whispered through the ages in sacred texts and spiritual teachings. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your imagination is your instruction to life. It tells the world who you are and what to reflect back to you. So if you want them to feel the loss of you, don't wait for them to say it. Create the scene in your mind where they already are. Feel the emotion of it. Breathe in the reality of it. And then walk through your day as someone who is not waiting, but someone who already knows. The shift will be subtle at first. A strange message, a mutual friend mentioning your name, a post that seems like a cry for help. These are not coincidences. These are the consequences of your imagination taking root in the soil of your belief. The fruit may take time to show, but the seed has already been planted. You don't have to chase. You don't have to beg. You only have to imagine and believe. Because when imagination is used as a spiritual act, it becomes the most powerful force in the universe. You're not hoping they miss you. You're creating the reality in which they already do. There comes a moment in your journey when you must stop explaining yourself, stop defending your presence, and stop justifying your departure. You detach, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You let go not because you didn't care, but because you finally understood your worth. And when you detach with dignity, quietly, calmly, and with unwavering inner peace, you become louder than any scream, more haunting than any argument, and more powerful than any revenge. Detachment is not abandonment. It's sacred preservation. You stop bleeding for people who never offered you a bandage. You stop begging to be seen by eyes too blind to recognize your light. You stop offering your soul to those who only wanted your silence. And as you pull back, something incredible happens. The energy you once freely gave becomes a mirror they cannot escape and reflects their choices. It shows them what they lost. The most profound message you'll ever send isn't typed in a long message or shouted in anger. It's felt. It's spiritual. It's energetic. When you no longer show up the way you used to, when your laughter stops filling the room, when your presence stops softening their chaos, they begin to feel it. The comfort they ignored is gone. The peace you brought has evaporated. And now they are left with themselves and the noise that was once silenced by your love. You don't have to announce your withdrawal. You don't need a dramatic exit. You simply detach. You become unavailable to disrespect, unreachable by manipulation, immune to guilt trips. You no longer react. You no longer chase. You no longer try to prove what they should have seen all along. And this is where your energy becomes louder than ever. You begin to glow differently. You walk differently. You carry an unseen authority that shakes those who once doubted you. The energy they used to drain is no longer accessible, and they notice. Oh, they notice. But instead of offering explanations, you offer stillness. Instead of proving your pain, you embody your peace. The truth is, when you detach with dignity, the same people who dismissed you start feeling haunted by the absence of your presence. They remember your kindness, They miss your patience. They feel the loss of something they never thought they'd lose. And while they may not say it aloud, your silence becomes the storm they cannot outrun. This is why energy is everything. Your energy, when held with confidence and calm, becomes the most undeniable force in any relationship. It speaks for you when words are no longer enough. It travels where your voice cannot go. It lingers in places you've left, echoing truths that were once ignored. So don't waste your strength trying to be understood. Let your peace be your statement. Let your calm be your clapback. Let your distance be your declaration. Your energy will do the rest. Because when you detach with dignity, you don't lose power, you multiply it. And the ones who hurt you will feel that power long after your presence has disappeared. There's a pain more brutal than heartbreak. It's called regret. And it doesn't come immediately. It creeps in slowly after the damage is done, when the silence becomes deafening and the soul starts noticing what's missing. Regret is the punishment the universe serves to those who mishandle what was pure. And if your love was genuine, consistent, selfless, and kind, you must believe that the person who lost it will one day feel the full weight of its absence. You were not just someone passing through. You were a place of healing. You were a voice of calm. You were a presence that made things feel less heavy. And now that space is empty. The warmth you gave is gone. The comfort you offered is no longer available. And though they may have ignored it while they had it, they cannot ignore the silence that's replaced it. Regret always arrives late, but it always arrives. In the quiet moments, in the middle of the night, in the spaces where distractions no longer work. They will remember. They will replay the conversations. They will revisit the decisions. And piece by piece, the image of what they destroyed will become clearer. Not because you're forcing them to remember, but because your love created a presence too powerful to forget. You must stop waiting for the apology. Stop waiting for the validation. Instead, hold the knowing. They will regret losing you, not out of ego, but because the love you gave was real, and real love always leaves a mark. Every time you showed up when they didn't deserve it, every time you forgave without receiving a sorry, every time you gave more than you got, those moments weren't wasted, they were seeds. And now that you're gone, those seeds have turned into thorns in their memory. They will try to move on, but something will always feel different. They'll meet others, but no one will match your depth. They'll chase distractions, but nothing will soothe the ache. Because the truth is, they didn't just lose someone, they lost you. And you are not replaceable, not in spirit, not in love, not in impact. The space your love once filled now becomes the canvas on which their regret is painted. And the longer you stay silent, the clearer that painting becomes. So hold your peace, trust the process, and believe that regret is growing in the very heart that once ignored your worth. You don't need to prove anything. Life is already doing that for you, because no one walks away from genuine love and finds peace in losing it. The most powerful transformation doesn't come from outer action, it comes from inner vision. If you want the universe to echo back your worth, you must first create the scene in your mind that reflects it. Not with desperation, not with hope, but with certainty. Imagine with clarity, feel it with intensity, and live from it with faith. That is the sacred formula. Now, I want you to go there in your imagination, not with cruelty, but with conviction. Picture them in their quiet moments, sitting alone, overwhelmed by memories they once dismissed. Imagine their eyes filling with tears as they scroll through your old photos, not because you're gone, but because they now understand what they threw away. Visualize them trying to laugh but feeling hollow, trying to distract themselves but feeling haunted by your absence. Feel the silence they sit in. Feel the regret that eats away at their confidence. This is not fantasy. This is your creative power at work. You're not creating pain, you're creating awareness. You're not imagining their downfall to destroy them. You're imagining it to liberate yourself from the lie that they moved on unaffected, because they didn't. And your mind, your inner sanctuary, is where you reclaim that truth. The key is this: don't just imagine it once and walk away. Dwell there. Stay in the scene, make it your new home. And from that home, speak, act, and walk like someone whose presence changed everything, and whose absence now echoes like thunder in the lives of those who once took you for granted. Let this scene define how you carry yourself. No more shrinking, no more wondering. You know, you've seen it in your mind. And what you've seen is more real than anything the outside world can temporarily hide. Every time doubt tries to whisper, return to that vision. Every time your heart aches for closure, return to that scene. Let your imagination become the courtroom where truth is revealed, not in anger, but in justice. And that justice is this: they are falling apart not because you wanted it, but because you were their balance, and they lost it. You are no longer waiting for evidence, you are the evidence. And the inner scene you carry will eventually write itself into your outer world. Because the imagination is not passive. It is the womb of reality, and what you conceive in it will be born into time. You've now come to the doorway between belief and reality. What you choose to believe about your worth, your absence, your energy, and their regret will determine what unfolds next. Not out there, but in here. And what begins inside must, by divine law, express itself outwardly. That's how powerful you are. This entire journey hasn't been about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong or making them suffer. It's about awakening to the truth that you were never less. You were never the one who needed convincing. You were the one they should have cherished. You were the blessing they couldn't see clearly until it vanished. But now you see clearly. Now you walk in a different kind of silence, the kind that heals. Now you carry a different kind of imagination, the kind that creates. You are not reacting anymore, you are directing. You are not waiting anymore, you are becoming. And as you continue to act like they are falling apart without you, not in cruelty, but in divine assurance, something begins to shift. The universe starts responding. The energy around you begins to tighten. Circumstances rearrange, conversations are sparked. Thoughts enter their mind, guilt creeps into their soul. And all of it began not because you shouted, but because you knew. You knew who you were. You knew what you carried. Then you knew what they lost. So carry this truth now. Your absence is a storm. Your silence is a sermon. Your detachment is a declaration. And your imagination is the prophecy of what must now come to pass. You do not need to fight. You do not need to speak. You only need to assume the feeling of what is already happening and let the world catch up to your belief. They're feeling it. They're falling apart in the very space your love once filled. And you're rising. You're stepping into the version of yourself that no longer begs for clarity, but creates it. You are the evidence of what they lost. You are the presence they didn't value until it turned into an absence they can't escape. This is your power. This is your turning point. Act like they're falling apart without you, because spiritually, emotionally, and energetically, they already are. And now you are free. Close your eyes for a moment, not to escape the world, but to see it more clearly. Picture yourself standing in a home you didn't finance with anxiety, but with ease. Feel the softness of the leather beneath you as you sit in your dream car, not because someone handed it to you, but because life matched the frequency of your belief. Hear the sound of wealth, not coins clinking in someone else's pocket, but the internal rhythm of abundance aligning itself with your every heartbeat. This is not fantasy. This is the unseen law quietly shaping everything around you. There is a divine mechanism hidden beneath the surface of reality, one that doesn't bend to force but bows to belief. When you act as if you're already a millionaire, you are not lying to yourself. You are reminding life of the truth your spirit has always known. You are stepping into the identity of someone who no longer chases wealth but who attracts it like a magnet draws iron. Why? Because everything you desire already exists. Not in the future, but in a dimension only your imagination can access. First, many people wait for the evidence before they allow themselves to believe. But those who shape the world understand a deeper secret. Belief is the evidence. Acting rich is not arrogance when it comes from inner knowing. It's not about reckless spending or trying to impress others. It's about aligning your thoughts, habits, posture, and language with the person you intend to become. Life doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you are prepared to embody. When you act from a state of lack, speaking about how you don't have enough, life listens and mirrors back exactly that, not enough. But the moment you shift, when you start walking with the quiet confidence of someone who already has everything they need, something changes. Doors begin to open, ideas begin to flow, unexpected opportunities appear, life begins to catch up with the identity you've chosen, because reality at its core is obedient to imagination. You cannot fake this alignment with outer actions alone. It must start internally. You must become so convinced of your wealth, so rooted in the feeling of abundance, that the outer world has no choice but to bow to your inner conviction. Money flows not to the desperate, but to the magnetic. And magnetism is born in the imagination, in the unseen, in the silence, in the stillness, where you boldly claim, I already have it. So don't wait for the world to crown you with riches. Crown yourself in your consciousness first. Speak from that place. Think from that place. Dress, plan, and walk from that place. The mind does not know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's physically experienced, and neither does life. Reality responds to the dominant vibration within you, and if that vibration says, I am already wealthy, then wealth becomes your default setting. You weren't meant to live in lack. You weren't created to just survive. Your spirit was carved from the substance of creation itself. And creation does not beg, it commands. It does not wish, it assumes. So assume your wealth, assume your freedom, assume your abundance with quiet boldness, and life will be forced to obey the clarity of your vision. Your identity creates your reality. We live in a world where most people are trying to change their lives by changing their actions, but they never stop to question the identity driving those actions. They hustle harder, take more risks, read all the books, and still end up circling the same mountain of lack, because deep inside they're still carrying the identity of someone who is not yet enough. The secret is this: your reality doesn't come from what you do, it comes from who you believe you are. The world is not responding to your effort, it's responding to your self-concept. If you see yourself as poor, no amount of action will override the frequency of that belief. You may earn more, but somehow you'll find ways to lose it, sabotage it, or block more from coming in. Why? Because the subconscious mind is loyal to the image you carry within. If your inner dialogue says, I never have enough, or I'm not the type of person who can be wealthy, life will mirror that identity until the day you change it. You may want $1 million, but if you still feel like someone undeserving of wealth, that money will remain an illusion. But something powerful happens when you shift your identity, not externally, not cosmetically, but spiritually. When you start to see yourself as a wealthy individual, not based on what's in your bank account, but based on what's anchored in your mind, life begins to shift. You speak differently, you walk differently, you think and move with a new rhythm. It is not forced, it flows. And because life is simply a mirror, it begins to reflect the new story you are telling about yourself. Most people live as reactors. They respond to what's happening outside of them. If the numbers are low, they feel small. If the bills stack up, they feel trapped. But the ones who rise above the masses live from the inside out. They let their self-image sculpt their experience. They don't wait for proof to feel wealthy. They decide to feel it first, knowing that everything else will follow in divine order. It's not delusion. It's the boldest form of truth. The truth that spirit dictates matter. Millionaire mindset doesn't wait for riches to believe in abundance. It starts with a quiet confidence, a gentle conviction that says, "This is who I am now." And because identity always drives behavior, your actions begin to match the wealth you've already accepted within. You make decisions from a place of ownership. You invest in yourself. You no longer tolerate what once drained you. You shift not only your mindset but your lifestyle, one internal belief at a time. You don't have to see the millions to know they're on their way. Just like the seed already knows it will become a tree, your millionaire identity carries the code of fulfillment. You're not hoping anymore. You're not guessing. You're remembering. You're reclaiming what was always yours in spirit. And as this identity solidifies within, the world has no choice but to keep up. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop doubting and start declaring. And slowly, without fanfare, your outer world adjusts to the truth you dared to embody. I already am. Imagination is the blueprint. Before any building touches the sky, before any bridge spans a river, before any empire rises, there is a blueprint. That blueprint exists in the mind long before it takes shape in the material world. Your life follows the same principle. Everything you experience first begins in thought, and the most powerful of those thoughts are born in your imagination. What you see in your imagination with feeling and certainty is more real than what you see with your eyes, because it's the seed of all creation. Most people see imagination as child's play, something to outgrow. But those who change their lives, those who alter the direction of their entire future, understand that imagination is sacred ground. It is the workshop of reality. It's where you try on new versions of yourself without the restrictions of logic, doubt, or fear. And it's in that space that you can construct the millionaire version of you with absolute freedom. No bank statement can stop you. No limitation can interfere. In imagination, all things are possible. And it is only from there that true wealth is born. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe is already yours. And belief begins in imagination. When you spend time visualizing your ideal life, not from a distance, but from within it, you activate a deeper intelligence. Your subconscious begins to rewire itself. It starts to delete the lies you've told yourself for years, the ones that say you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy of wealth, and it replaces them with new truths, ones built not on struggle but on divine possibility. Your imagination is not just fantasy, it is prophetic. It previews what can be if you dare to dwell in it long enough. Spend 5 minutes a day living in the feeling of wealth, and you'll begin to notice something unusual. You'll walk taller. You'll carry yourself with greater calm. You'll become less reactive to lack because your inner world is already full. And life, always faithful to its blueprint, will begin to mirror that fullness. When you imagine wealth vividly, you are not just dreaming. You are rehearsing. You are setting the coordinates for your reality to follow. That imagined luxury, that ease, that generosity, it begins to reshape your inner chemistry, and what begins within must eventually express without. The laws of the universe are not bound by time. There's a delay, yes, but not a denial. The wealth you see in your mind, if believed with consistency, must arrive. It's law. So don't wait for evidence, create it. Use your imagination as your laboratory of abundance. Picture yourself receiving the transfer. Imagine your phone lighting up with unexpected deposits. See yourself walking through the doors of your dream home, not someday, but now. Because in imagination, now is all there is. And if you do this with faith and repetition, your outer world will bend toward your vision, like a river finding its way to the sea. Feel the reality before it arrives. There is a secret frequency that rewrites everything around you. And it's not what you think or say, it's what you feel. You may hold the most perfect image in your mind. You may repeat all the right affirmations. But if you do so without the deep emotional feeling of already having what you desire, it will remain a daydream floating in the ether. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the sacred language the universe understands. And until your inner world is saturated with a feeling of wealth, it will not show itself in your outer world. This is why people get stuck. They say all the right words, they visualize the car, the home, the freedom. But inside, they are still vibrating with lack, with fear, with doubt. The image is there, but it's hollow. It's not alive with emotion. And so the universe has no signal to respond to. But the moment you feel wealth, not just see it, the moment your chest expands with gratitude as if it's already yours, something changes. You move from hoping to knowing, from wishing to possessing. Emotions are powerful attractors. When you feel as if something is true, you tell your subconscious that it is true. The subconscious doesn't argue, it doesn't ask for proof. It simply begins to reorganize your habits, your focus, your attitude to match the emotional blueprint you've supplied. So if you can walk through your day with the calm, grounded confidence of a millionaire, not just pretending but feeling it deep in your bones, then you are no longer chasing wealth or living in it before it even shows up. And this inner state will begin to shift everything. The conversations you attract will change. The ideas that flow into your mind will be richer. The risks you take will feel more guided. You won't second guess yourself the way you used to, because you're no longer operating from lack. You're operating from fulfillment. And what's fulfilled within must eventually show without. Gratitude plays a powerful role here. To feel grateful for something before it comes is one of the highest forms of faith. It tells the universe, I trust your timing, I trust your process, I know it's already mine. And that emotional energy, when practiced daily, will magnetize the very things you are thanking life for in advance. You begin to live in the end, not hoping you'll arrive there one day, but resting in the reality that you already have. The key is repetition. You don't just feel it once and expect a miracle. You return to the feeling like a sacred ritual. In the morning before the world rushes in, at night before you surrender to sleep. You close your eyes and let the warmth of wealth rise in you like a tide. You breathe it in. You wear it like skin. And with every repetition, the signal grows stronger. Your vibration gets clearer. And what was once only a feeling becomes your actual reality. Let action flow from assumption. There is a clear distinction between action taken from desperation and action taken from identity. The first is reactive, shaky, uncertain. It tries to force life to respond. The second is calm, aligned, and effective. It knows life is already responding. When you act as if you are already a millionaire, your actions carry a different energy. They are not rooted in trying to get somewhere. They flow from the place of already being there. You see, when you assume your wealth, not imagine it as a distant possibility, but embrace it as your current truth. Your entire posture shifts. You stop chasing opportunities and begin recognizing them. You stop begging the world to notice you and begin walking with the silent confidence of someone who has already arrived. You no longer invest from fear, but from clarity. You no longer make decisions out of lack, but from vision. And this shift makes all the difference. Assumption isn't about arrogance. It's not about walking into a room and declaring your greatness to others. It's a private, powerful agreement you make with yourself and the universe. It says, this is who I am now. I don't need to see proof. I don't need approval. I've already stepped into the version of myself that holds the wealth I desire. And from that identity, your choices begin to reflect your belief. You speak differently, not louder, but with more authority. You move through your day with more peace. You invest in learning, in self-care, in relationships with more generosity and faith. Why? Because you are no longer negotiating your worth. You are no longer waiting for permission. You've already given it to yourself. And that permission unlocks inspired action, the kind that leads to real results. Life responds to congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions all align with your inner assumption, the universe has no choice but to echo that frequency. If you assume wealth, but act like someone who's still doubting their value, there is confusion in your signal. But if you assume wealth and take actions that match, decisive, wise, purposeful, then you accelerate the arrival of what you already know is yours. This is how those who have it all often move. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They don't wait to feel ready. They assume their success and allow their actions to follow. They speak from the end. They plan from the end. They show up to meetings, relationships, and decisions already possessing the success they desire. And because their inner world is so solid, the outer world bows to meet it. You don't need $1 million in your account to begin living like a millionaire. You need a shift in perspective. You need the courage to act from the reality you've imagined, not the one you currently see. When you let your assumptions guide your steps, you unlock a deeper intelligence, one that sees further, moves bolder, and opens doors that effort alone could never force open. Ignore present circumstances. To master the unseen forces of wealth and manifestation, you must learn the art of detachment, not from your desires, but from your current circumstances. The most deceptive thing in the world is the illusion of now. What you see, what you touch, what your senses feed you is only a delayed reflection of your past assumptions and beliefs. It is not the truth of your potential. It is merely the residue of former thoughts playing themselves out. And if you keep reacting to what is, you will keep repeating what was. This is where most people lose the battle. They start to imagine, to assume, to feel wealthy, and then life shows them a bill they can't pay, or a bank account that contradicts their vision. And in that moment, they give power back to the illusion. They say, see, it's not working. I'm still broke. And by saying it, they reanchor themselves in the very lack they were trying to escape. The secret is to ignore what your senses are telling you, and instead trust the unseen world within you. You were never meant to be a slave to circumstances. You were meant to be a master of them. And the first step to mastery is learning to withhold emotional reaction. Don't flinch when life throws you a test. Don't crumble when the outer world tries to mock your inner knowing. Instead, smile, not out of denial, but out of deep awareness, because you know that circumstances are old news. The real news is happening in your imagination. That's where the future is being written. The question is, can you remain loyal to your assumption even when reality contradicts it? Can you feel like a millionaire even when the rent is late? Can you walk in peace when chaos surrounds you? If you can, you've unlocked the true secret. Because when you stop reacting to the outer and start responding from the inner, you shift timelines. You move from being a victim of delay to being a vessel of creation. This is not about ignoring responsibilities. This is about not letting your current limitations define your self-concept. You still handle what needs to be handled, but you no longer label yourself based on your environment. You don't say, I'm struggling. You say, this is just the old story fading out. You don't say, I can't afford it. You say, it's already on its way to me. You don't cry over what hasn't arrived. You give thanks for what's unfolding. You're not lying to yourself. You're speaking to the version of you that already exists in a higher realm, the one who is calm, clear, and abundantly provided for. And every time you choose that version over the one who doubts, you strengthen the signal. You speed up the shift, Life begins to take your assumption more seriously than your conditions, and slowly, quietly, those conditions begin to obey. Train your mind to look through circumstances, not at them. Because your wealth, your breakthrough, your destiny, it's not in the chaos around you, it's in the clarity within you. And once you choose to stay centered in your inner vision, the outer world has no choice but to bow. Persistence in assumption is power. Anyone can visualize wealth for a few moments. Anyone can repeat affirmations for a week. But those who see their world change are the ones who persist, not in effort, not in force, but in assumption. They pick a version of themselves, strong, wealthy, favored, and they live there mentally until the outer world has no option but to make it visible. Persistence in assumption is the secret few truly master, because it requires faith without proof, vision without validation, and trust without a timeline. When you first assume wealth, the world doesn't change instantly. Sometimes it even resists. Circumstances may seem to worsen. Old fears might resurface. Doubts creep in like shadows at dusk. And this is where most people retreat. They interpret resistance as failure. But in truth, it's just the old reality fighting to stay alive. The subconscious is being reprogrammed, and like an old operating system, it doesn't shut down quietly, it kicks and screams. But if you remain firm in your new identity, the old must eventually dissolve. Persistence means you keep choosing the new reality even when nothing has changed yet. It means you go to bed every night imagining success even if your day was filled with setbacks. It means you wake up every morning feeling abundant even if yesterday drained you. You don't let the lack of evidence weaken your assumption. You let the strength of your belief create the evidence. Think of a sculptor facing a raw block of stone. Every strike of the chisel is an act of persistence. At first there is no beauty, only resistance, but the artist doesn't stop. He doesn't look at the stone and say, "It's not working." He keeps going, knowing that with every action, he's revealing what already exists within. That's what you're doing with your assumption. Every time you imagine, every time you speak from the end, every time you ignore doubt, you're chiseling away the old and revealing the masterpiece beneath. The key is emotional loyalty. Don't just hold the vision, feel it daily. Let your assumption become a part of you, like your name, like your breath. When life pushes, you don't push back. You remain still, rooted in what you know. Your silence becomes your strength. Your calm becomes your command. You say to life, "I'm not moving until you do. I've already decided who I am." There will be moments when you're tested. People might laugh, circumstances may mock you, but the ones who win are the ones who persist. Not loudly, not boastfully, but with quiet certainty. They don't need applause. They don't need confirmation. They carry their wealth in their spirit long before the world sees it in their hands. And that internal consistency, over time, becomes undeniable power. This is not about intensity, it's about repetition. You don't have to manifest in one grand burst of belief. You just have to return to the state of assumption again and again until it becomes natural. Until thinking any other way feels strange. That's when you know you've won. That's when life starts to match the image you've held. Because in the end, it's not the strongest or the smartest who create new realities. It's the most persistent. Speak and think from the end. There is a language that rewrites the very code of your reality, and it isn't spoken to others. It's spoken to yourself within the quiet chambers of your mind. Most people think about what they want to happen. They speak about what they hope to achieve. But those who command reality don't speak from desire, They speak from fulfillment. They don't think toward the goal, they think from it. This one shift, from longing to living, from asking to assuming, is the catalyst that turns dreams into tangible experience. When you think from the end, you're not just visualizing a wish, you are entering a state where the wish has already come true. You're not begging life for a million, you are reflecting as if you've already lived the moment when it arrived. Your mind is no longer echoing someday, it's echoing already. And that shift tells the universe, this is who I am now, this is the timeline I occupy. Start by listening to your inner language. Do you say things like, I will be rich or I want to be wealthy? These phrases, though filled with intent, push your desire into the future. They affirm distance. They affirm absence. But the moment you change your words to, I am wealthy now, money flows to me now, or I live in abundance, you collapse time, you bring the future into the present. You give your subconscious new instructions, and it listens. This is not about lying to yourself, it's about choosing a deeper truth, the truth of who you really are beneath the conditioning of the world. When you speak from the end, you are not faking anything. You are recognizing the potential reality that already exists in the unseen, and you're bringing it into form through repetition, belief, and feeling. You're stepping into the script of your future, and you're delivering the lines with full conviction. It may feel strange at first. Your senses will rebel. The world will try to pull you back into your logical story. But don't yield. Speak your reality as if it's already done. Walk through your day like someone who just received everything they once prayed for. Let your inner dialogue reflect your future self, not the version that's waiting, but the version that has already received. This inner state will start to shape your choices. You won't be desperate for quick fixes. You won't entertain low vibration thoughts or people. You'll make decisions that match your future because you'll already be living it mentally. You'll feel less like someone chasing wealth and more like someone simply waiting for life to catch up with what you already know. Even your body will respond. Your nervous system will begin to relax. Your breath will deepen. You will carry less anxiety because you're no longer in pursuit. You are in possession. And that calm, that inner stillness will begin to attract experiences, opportunities, and people that match the state you've chosen. So make it your daily practice. When doubt comes, speak from the end. When worry creeps in, think from the end. When fear rises, rest in the end. Live from the end result as if it's already been delivered. Because the more you dwell in that state, the more your outer world will have no choice but to become its mirror. You are not here to wish. You are not here to beg life to give you scraps of what you deserve. You are here to assume the fullness of your power and walk in it as if it were already yours, because it is already yours. Life does not begin when the money shows up, when the opportunity knocks, or when the world applauds. Life begins when you decide to be the person you've been waiting to become. Wealth is not out there, hiding behind some far-off event. It lives within the vibration you choose every single day. And when you choose to act as if you're already a millionaire, not from arrogance, but from quiet spiritual certainty, you become a magnet, not just for money, but for everything that belongs to the version of you who no longer doubts. Your identity shapes your reality. Imagination lays the blueprint. Emotion brings it to life. Assumption fuels your action. And persistent belief bridges the gap between the unseen and the seen. But it all comes together when you speak and think from the end, when your inner world becomes so rich, so real, so complete, that the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. So, no more waiting. No more watching the clock. No more asking the world for permission to become who you already are. You don't need $1 million to act like someone with financial peace. You need a decision, a posture, a frequency. And once you hold that frequency long enough, wealth will not be able to resist you. Speak it, feel it, live it now, and watch how life scrambles to catch up with the truth you dared to believe. Would you like me to now write the SEO-friendly description, timestamps, keywords, and hashtags for this speech? Close your eyes for just a moment, not to escape, but to arrive. Imagine this. Every desire you've ever whispered into the universe is already fulfilled, not in some distant future, not after the struggle, but right now. As you sit here, listening, breathing, thinking, your dream life isn't waiting for you at the end of the road. It's wrapped around you like oxygen, subtle and invisible, yet completely present. The only reason you can't touch it is because you've been told to wait, to earn, to suffer first. But what if everything you've ever wanted was simply waiting for one thing? For you to assume it's already yours. Pause for a moment. Feel what I just said. Don't just hear the words, experience them. Feel the shift inside you as you imagine your bank account filled with more money than you've ever seen, not as a fantasy, but as a memory. See yourself walking through the world with ease, not worrying about bills, validation, or opinions. Imagine your dream home isn't on a vision board, it's under your feet. The dream relationship you long for isn't a future hope, it's in your arms. The confidence you seek isn't something to be built. It already resides within you, waiting to be claimed. This is not about positive thinking. This is not about pretending. This is about assumption, the sacred art of becoming what you already are. The truth is, reality doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your assumptions. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe is already yours. And what you consistently assume to be true becomes the law of your experience. So here's the question. What are you assuming every day? That you're not good enough yet? That your time hasn't come? That you need to wait for permission or luck or some cosmic alignment? If so, understand those assumptions are shaping your world far more than action ever could. You've been taught that hard work is the path, that grind and hustle will eventually buy you freedom. But here's the secret. If your mind remains enslaved to lack, no amount of effort can liberate you. The outside only shifts when the inside assumes it already has. Look around you. Every object, every invention, every masterpiece began as an assumption. Someone dared to believe it was already theirs long before it became visible. Your dream life is no different. It begins not with the first dollar earned, not with the first opportunity given, but with the first assumption felt as real. The shift doesn't happen in the world, it happens in you. And so I ask you now, are you ready to stop chasing and start assuming? Are you prepared to walk, talk, and breathe as if the life you dream of is already your daily reality? Because if you are, then everything begins now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now is the portal. Now is the key. Now is the moment you abandon the identity of the struggler and step into the awareness of the fulfilled. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about knowing. And in the world of the unseen, knowing is the most powerful force there is. So let go of waiting. Let go of hoping. Step into being. Assume you are already living your dream life, and reality will mirror back what you dared to believe. To assume is to occupy. It is to dwell mentally and emotionally in the state of fulfillment, without asking how or when. It is the silent declaration that I am already that. This is the secret known to those who move through life effortlessly, magnetizing success, love, and wealth with a quiet certainty that bewilders others. People look at them and wonder what makes them so lucky, so favored. But it is not luck, it is law. They have mastered the art of assumption. When you assume your dream life is already your reality, you activate a law older than time, a law that does not differentiate between fact and imagination. It simply reflects what you accept as true. Your imagination is the womb of all creation. Every structure, every relationship, every dollar in circulation once lived in someone's imagination as a present reality. You are not separate from this power. You are not an outsider to the creative process. You are the central cause of your world. Let's imagine then that you are wealthy beyond measure. What changes within you? Do you still feel tight in your chest when bills arrive? Do you still check your bank balance with anxiety? Or do you walk into every room, every store, every opportunity with the unshakable ease of someone who knows there's always more than enough? This is where assumption begins, not with wishful thoughts, but with the transformation of your inner reactions. The assumption of wealth is not a chance, it's a feeling. It's the way you sit, speak, breathe, and respond, even before the physical world adjusts. If you assume you are loved deeply and unconditionally, you will no longer chase validation. You will no longer beg to be seen. You will no longer alter yourself to fit into someone else's lack of vision. You will feel whole in your solitude. You will walk with grace, attracting love not through desperation, but through resonance. The world outside will rush to meet the love you have already become within. Why? Because you are not waiting for it anymore. You are assuming it. You are it. This is the difference between the dreamer who waits and the one who lives the dream. The one who waits is always asking, always doubting, always needing signs. But the one who lives the dream has stopped asking because they have already received in consciousness. They feel no absence. They carry no tension. Their faith is not in the future. It is in the now, in the invisible truth that what they assume has no choice but to manifest. To the logical mind, this seems delusional. It screams, how can you live as if it's already done when nothing around you has changed? But that is precisely the point. Creation begins within. Reality is not your master, it is your mirror. It bends, reflects, and shapes itself according to the tones of your inner world. And if your inner world sings the song of wealth, love, freedom, and peace, then the outer world must harmonize. You cannot fool this process with half-hearted belief. Assumption demands sincerity. You must saturate your mind so deeply in the state desired that you forget it's not yet seen. You must let go of the external evidence and walk by the inner knowing alone, not because it's logical, but because it's law. The world cannot resist the mind that has fully assumed it must comply. But let me be clear. This is not about pretending. Pretending still acknowledges the lack. It says, I'm not this, but I'll act like I am. Assumption says, I am this already, completely, permanently. It is not an act, it is an embodiment. The one who pretends is still hoping. The one who assumes is knowing. So how do you begin? First, identify the version of you that already lives the life you desire. What does that version think upon waking? How do they speak about their life? What do they never worry about anymore? Then begin to adopt those thoughts, not as fantasy, but as fact. Feel the relief of it. Speak with the confidence of it. Move through your day as if the inner change has already rewritten the script of your life, because it has. Yes, your senses will argue. They will scream, but look around you, nothing has changed. That's their job, to report on what was. But your imagination reports on what is becoming. And it is your loyalty to that invisible state that determines how quickly it materializes. Assumption is the sacred bridge between your desire and its manifestation, not effort, not chance, assumption. And the more naturally you dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, the more seamlessly life will reorganize itself around you. Let go of the idea that you must do more to receive more. That's the old paradigm. You are not a machine, you are a creator. And your greatest act of creation is not what you do, but what you assume. When you assume your dream life, you no longer wait for proof. You become the proof. You no longer ask if it's possible. You live as if it already is. And from that sacred place, the world cannot help but yield. So now, the only question left is this: can you live today as if it has already happened? Can you walk through your current circumstances with the unshakable knowing that they are temporary shadows, reshaping themselves in response to your new inner reality? You don't need evidence to begin, you need faith to persist. Your assumptions are your compass, and the more boldly you assume, the more dramatically life will surprise you. There is a hidden intelligence in the universe that does not wait for your effort, it waits for your alignment. And alignment is not something you earn, it is something you assume. When you choose to believe that your dream life is already yours, you no longer act from lack, you act from fullness. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you allow. This isn't about arrogance, it's about authority. The authority of the soul that remembers it is one with the Creator. People will ask you how it's possible to assume something that isn't visible yet. They'll call it unrealistic. But what they do not understand is this: every reality you desire already exists in potential. The moment you assume it, you step into the frequency of that potential. And from there it starts to unfold around you. The assumption is not the fantasy. The assumption is the seed. And the seed contains the forest. Even if all you can see right now is soil. When you assume your dream life, you are not faking, you are simply accepting the truth before the world catches up. And it will catch up, because your inner world is the original script. This is how reality is made, first in spirit, then in form. It has always worked this way from the beginning of time. The artist sees the painting in their mind before it reaches the canvas. The architect sees the building before a brick is laid. So why not see your future and believe it is already yours? Most people delay their joy. They put conditions on their happiness. I'll feel worthy when I'm successful. I'll feel rich when I see the money. I'll feel loved when someone finally chooses me. But these conditions are the very walls that block what they seek. The universe doesn't wait for you to receive to give. It waits for you to believe to receive. This is the reversal that changes everything. When you walk in the assumption that your dream life is now, your energy changes. And energy is language. It communicates to every person, situation, and opportunity before you say a word. The person who assumes their dream life has already arrived speaks differently. They no longer defend their dreams or explain their value. They radiate their truth without apology. Their silence says more than others' noise. Assuming the life you want already belongs to you activates the most powerful law in existence, the law of reflection. The world becomes your mirror, not of your words, but of your assumptions, not of your surface beliefs, but of your deeply held inner convictions. That's why you cannot fake this. The universe does not respond to what you say. It responds to what you know in your soul to be real. So when you rise in the morning, don't just go through the motions. Begin the day from your end result. Wake up as the person who already lives the life you long for. Walk like them, think like them, dress like them, make decisions as they would. If you were already living your dream, how would you carry yourself today? Let that answer become your blueprint. You see, the delay between your assumption and your manifestation isn't punishment, it's preparation. The dream life you desire isn't withheld from you, it's being shaped through you. It's growing in the invisible just as a seed grows in silence before it breaks the surface. The only thing you must do is stay in the state of the end. Not briefly, not conditionally, but permanently. Because the moment you drop back into doubt, you step out of the frequency, and the frequency is where all creation flows. This is why assumption requires discipline, not physical effort, but mental loyalty. Loyalty to the unseen, loyalty to the version of yourself that already has everything you once prayed for, the version that lives without fear, that no longer reacts to appearances, that doesn't need to force outcomes, because outcomes flow naturally to the one who believes they are already worthy. You're not trying to become your future self, you are remembering them. You are reclaiming the identity that was always yours, hidden beneath layers of programming and fear. And each assumption brings you closer to that truth. You are not becoming, you are revealing, not creating, aligning. The path is not forward, it's inward. And the more time you spend assuming your dream life, the more unnatural anything else begins to feel. Scarcity feels foreign. Struggle feels unnecessary. Doubt feels absurd. Because your nervous system has adapted to the reality of fulfillment, you have rehearsed abundance so vividly, so consistently, that it feels more real than the illusion of lack. This is the level where miracles happen. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your assumptions are the frequency of your life. Change the frequency and everything must respond. It's not magic, it's mathematics. Resonance. The entire universe is sound, and sound is vibration, and vibration responds to inner certainty. Do you see now why it doesn't matter what the world says, why your circumstances are not authorities but echoes? You don't ask your shadow for advice, you move and it follows. The same is true of reality. Stop waiting for signs. Become the sign. Stop asking when it will come. Assume it already has. And watch as doors open, not by force, but by inevitability. When you master this, your life will no longer be a series of reactions. It will be a masterpiece of alignment. You'll stop swinging between hope and disappointment, effort and exhaustion. You'll dwell in a calm knowing, a quiet confidence, a spiritual richness that the world cannot give or take away. And here is the final truth. Assumption is not a trick to get what you want. It is a return to who you are. You are not here to beg life for crumbs. You are here to declare your vision and let the world rise to meet it. And it will. Because when you live from the end becomes your new beginning. Most people wait for life to show them a sign before they believe. But those who shape reality from within don't wait. They decide. They assume. They create the sign within themselves and let the outer world follow. That is the real reversal, from outer influence to inner authority, from cause and effect to causing the effect. And once you grasp this, you stop asking the world for permission. You no longer need it to prove anything. You become the proof. The assumption of your dream life isn't just about imagining once and forgetting. It's a dwelling place, a mental address. And the more you live there in thought and feeling, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, the assumption overtakes the evidence. Eventually, you forget you ever lacked what you now live in, and it no longer feels like something arriving. It feels like something that was always there. This is the sacred paradox. The less you need to see it, the faster it comes. The less you wait, the sooner it arrives. Because when you stop needing it, you signal that you already have it. And the law responds. It's not your yearning that brings it. It's your acceptance. You cannot fool the universe with desperate affirmations. You must embody the end. Emotionally, energetically, habitually. You must convince yourself, and once you do, the rest is automatic. Let's make this even more practical. Think of the desires you carry in secret, the ones you've been nurturing in silence, afraid they might be too big, too bold, too unrealistic. Now imagine not that they're coming, but that they've already come, that it's already done. How would that version of you move through the day? What would you no longer tolerate? What would you no longer doubt? That version of you already lives inside of you, waiting to be assumed. Begin to act, not as if it's coming, but as if it's here. Not to impress others, not to force results, but to train your nervous system into the new normal. Let your daily routine reflect your belief. Let your inner dialogue mirror the fulfilled version of your life. No more asking if, no more wondering how, just walking, speaking, breathing from the knowing that it's already yours. You might say, but nothing has changed yet, and that is the lie of the senses. The physical world is always the last to reflect the spiritual shift. The moment you assume the end and remain faithful to it, the unseen wheels begin turning, circumstances rearrange, people, places, and events begin aligning, not because you pushed, but because you positioned yourself as one who already has. Faith is not blind belief. It is inner sight. It is seeing what the eyes cannot yet confirm. And the one who assumes does not wait to believe until the world changes. They believe, and so the world must change. Assumption doesn't make you delusional. It makes you powerful, because it anchors you in the only place that creates reality, the invisible. And this is where the real shift occurs. When you stop being a seeker and become a possessor, you're no longer trying to attract your dream life. You have it. You've accepted it. You've taken it as your own in consciousness. And consciousness is the only substance. There is nothing outside of it. When you own it within, the external must yield. You must remember this truth daily. Reality is not personal. It is programmable. It does not respond to desperation. It responds to identity. And your identity is defined by your assumptions. If you assume that you are always struggling, always waiting, always just a little short of breakthrough, then that becomes your program. But when you assume the identity of the fulfilled version of you, the program shifts, and the output must match the input. Every thought you think is a broadcast. Every assumption you hold is a frequency. And life, like a divine mirror, reflects what you assume to be true. So the work is never in forcing the world to change. The work is in refining what you believe is already true about you. This is the greatest secret, that nothing is added to you when your dream life arrives. It was already yours. You simply awakened to it. You removed the mental fog. You released the resistance. You tuned into the reality that was waiting all along. The dream does not come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. And so each day your job is not to chase but to dwell, not to grasp but to rest, not to plead but to accept. Your job is to bring your mind back to the feeling of already having it, over and over, until the assumption becomes so real that it is no longer an effort, it is your new nature. And once it becomes your nature, the world cannot help but reflect it. This is not a performance for others. This is a revelation to yourself. You are not proving anything. You are remembering. You are claiming your inheritance. You are letting go of the falsehood that says you must wait to be happy or worthy or complete. You are stepping into the truth that says you are, right now, entire, empowered, enough. So make this real today. Don't just think about the dream, be the one who lives in it. Don't just talk about what's coming. Live from the knowing that it is here. Wear the identity, speak the language, feel the emotions of the person who no longer dreams about it because they are already in it. This is your power to assume boldly, to declare with quiet confidence that your dream life is not a goal, it is your state. And from that state, the world reshapes itself, not because you begged it to, but because it has no choice. You may not realize it, but every moment you hesitate, every time you say one day, you delay the arrival of a reality that has already been written. The moment you imagine your dream life and assume its truth, it begins to move toward you. Not slowly, not reluctantly, but with precision and certainty. The only thing that can stop it is your return to doubt. The only force strong enough to delay the manifestation is your refusal to stay faithful to the assumption. And yet the world will tempt you to look away. It will tempt you to judge by appearances, to measure the unseen by what is seen. But here lies the deeper lesson. What you see now is only the echo of your past assumptions. Your present reality is a reflection of yesterday's beliefs. If you continue assuming lack, you relive it. But if you dare to assume abundance, peace, and fulfillment today, you are rewriting tomorrow. This is not denial, this is divine defiance. It's choosing to believe the greater truth even when the world shouts otherwise. It's saying, I will no longer be defined by what I lack. I will be defined by what I know is mine. And as you do this, life bends. It does not resist. It simply responds. Your outer experience will begin to mirror your inner state with astonishing accuracy. The world is not testing you, it's echoing you. That's why no effort on the outside can override a belief on the inside. You can work tirelessly, but if your assumption is rooted in scarcity, fear, or doubt, then your results will always reflect that vibration. But shift the assumption, and even without action, things begin to align in your favor. People call it coincidence. You'll call it confirmation. Now understand this deeply. There is no limit to what you can assume, no dream too large, no vision too far. The only limit is what you're willing to believe as real before it becomes visible. The dream life, the soulmate, the financial overflow, it is not outside your reach. It's just outside your current assumption. You don't need to become someone else to get there. You only need to assume that you already are the one who lives it. This is not a game of hope. It's a shift of identity. You must become so familiar with the life you want that it becomes uncomfortable to think of anything else. So natural that you don't question it. So vivid that it starts to feel more real than your current surroundings. That's when the change begins. That's when the invisible begins to take form. The world might still look the same for a time, but don't be fooled. Just because the tree hasn't bloomed doesn't mean the roots aren't growing. Your assumption is the seed, and your persistence is the water. Keep nourishing it, not with desperation, but with faith. Not with striving, but with surrender. And surrender does not mean giving up. It means releasing resistance. It means no longer checking for signs, no longer obsessing over how or when. It means walking through life with a calm expectation, with a quiet joy that says, it is done. Because once you've assumed the end, you no longer need proof. You are the proof. Let others scramble and stress. Let them argue with facts. You have chosen to live by truth. And truth is that the world is molded by consciousness. Assumptions are the brushstrokes of the masterpiece. And your job is not to critique the canvas. It is to keep painting the vision until the picture appears. Think about this. How would you feel if everything you ever wanted was guaranteed? Not wished for, not maybe, guaranteed. That is the posture of assumption. That is the vibration you must dwell in. A peace that cannot be shaken, a confidence that cannot be rushed, a knowing that does not fade. You've tried effort, you've tried hustle, you've tried waiting, but have you tried knowing? Have you lived a day assuming, without wavering, that your dream life already surrounds you. That nothing needs to happen for you to feel complete right now. Most people are stuck in the cycle of seeking, constantly looking for evidence, for answers, for signs. But those who create the extraordinary do not seek, they assume. They already are. They carry the posture of one who knows that they are the source, not the seeker, that their desires are not requests but revelations. So today, become that person, the one who no longer asks, the one who no longer waits, the one who walks through life with the calm confidence of fulfillment, not because it's visible, but because it's true, not because it's logical, but because it's law. And when the old beliefs creep in, and they will, you don't fight them, you replace them. You don't argue with them, you transcend them. When your mind says, but I don't see it yet, respond with, because I no longer need to. When your heart feels anxious, return to the assumption, return to the feeling of the end, sit in it, breathe in it, let it become more familiar than the doubt. Eventually, you won't need reminders, you won't need motivation. The assumption will become so alive within you that nothing else fits. Lack will feel like a lie. Struggle will feel like a story you no longer relate to. And the only thing that will make sense is the dream life you've already chosen to embody. This is your new normal, walking through each day as if the miracle already happened, speaking as one who has received, thinking from the end, not about it. And as you do, life reconfigures. The universe adjusts its course, not because you forced it, but because you became it. So now we come to the most sacred truth of all. Your dream life has never been a distant possibility. It has always been a present reality, waiting for you to believe it into form. Not tomorrow, not after you prove yourself, but now, this very moment. You do not need more time, you need a deeper decision. The decision to assume, not timidly, not temporarily, but boldly and completely. To claim, not with your words, but with your state of being. Because your assumption is not a hope, it is not a wish, it is a spiritual contract written in the language of knowing. It tells the universe, I remember who I am, and I accept all that is mine. When you live this way, when you breathe this truth into every thought, every moment, every action, you become untouchable by fear, unshaken by appearances. You walk not in reaction, but in creation. And life must follow, because life does not lead the mind leads life. You are not here to wait for your dream life to find you. You are here to awaken into it, to inhabit it, to walk as one who already has. That is the law, that is the power, and that is the invitation before you now. So choose today not to wait. Choose to assume, not someday, not halfway, but fully. Live as if it is already yours, because in the unseen, it already is. And when you do, you will discover something extraordinary. The dream was never far away. It was never beyond you. It was never outside of you. It was always within, whispering, waiting, watching, until you finally said, yes. Now walk in it, live in it, rest in it, because it's done.